The Business Owners Podcast is brought to you by Business and Enever Group with your hosts, Linda Reed Enever and Clive Enever. In each episode, we talk to other business owners about their experiences, challenges, and successes. We'll also share tips and advice on how to grow your business and achieve your goals. If you're a business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, then the Business Owners Podcast is for you.
Welcome to the Business Owners Podcast. My name is Clive Enever, and along with Linda Reed Enever, I am your host. I am a business strategist, and I help people discover clarity to engage more effectively with more of their ideal client more often. Today I'm having a conversation with Curtis McCullom, founder of Bespoke Human Potential, about the blind spot effect, why business strategy alone isn't enough. Hello and welcome, Curtis.
Thank you, Clive, for having me today.
Absolute pleasure. Where have we found you geographically, Curtis?
I'm in the United States in Southern California. I think we talked about it earlier. Right now it's about 80 degrees, and as you can see, I got a short sleeve shirt on, so I'm prepared for the weather. Actually, I'm overdressed at this point.
Yes, Curtis looks exactly like he's ready to rush out and enjoy the beach. I gather, Curtis, that's because of the work you do, that you are so relaxed.
Yeah, the kind of work I do is I love the fact that if you're watching it, this is my office. This is why I do 90% of most of my work right here on Zoom, one-on-one with individuals. So it doesn't really matter about the weather outside. And my commute is about 15, 20 steps. My office is attached to my house. So I just walk outside, come into my office, and voila, I'm here. So I'm always relaxed and ready to go and ready to help and support individuals.
So I gather there's not a lot of blind spots between home and hitting the office.
Not too many blind spots. I think about blind spots sometimes, Clive, is when you're driving, you have a car and you have these rear view mirrors, and these new cars now has a little light on the side to let you know that something is in your blind spot. Something is in your side view that you may or may not see. So for me, obviously coming from my office to here, there's not a lot of places that have to do that. I was walking out the other day and my neighbor was coming at the same time. And I'm like, oh, I got a lot of traffic today because I couldn't get there immediately. But think about blind spots and think about individuals with these rearview mirrors, and something is there. You see it, you sense it, but you just don't know how to maneuver the life to the next lane or not.
I was actually thinking about that only yesterday. I was driving and I noticed the various lights popping up in the rearview mirrors of cars, and I was thinking of exactly that thing that you just said, that we have to pay attention because often there are things happening that we don't know about. We have to alert ourselves that we don't know. And how do you go about helping people alert themselves that there's something there that they don't know?
One of the things is that usually my job is to, once you determine that something is there, you don't know. Sometimes you can't put your finger on it. It's like, okay, I want to make more income. So the blind spot is, what is it that's preventing me from going from $80,000 to $100,000 in the U.S.? What is it that's preventing me? I've done everything. I've tried everything. I've meditated. I've gone to sales seminars. I've figured all the strategies. I've done all the things that my mentor told me to do, for something is still blocking me. That's mindset. So my job as the coach is now to determine what is the root cause of that, what alignment we need to put you back in, so that now we can release that blind spot, we can see it, we can acknowledge it, and now get rid of it.
And many people, of course, Curtis, jump into business. It's all very exciting. They've got this wonderful idea. They put all of their energy into it. And of course, if we look around the world, we discover that, well, we use Australia's figures because I'm very familiar with those ones, but they're not all that different in any other country, that 65% of businesses which begin fail within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Horrible statistic. Is there a single thing, do you think, that stops people from moving forward in their business, that causes them to give up?
One of the things is the fact that they didn't truly understand what they were getting into. They didn't truly have a knowledge of it. They had a lot of enthusiasm about it. Sometimes that takes you far. And what prevents you, though, I mean, my philosophy, Clive, is what prevents a person from actually becoming the 35%. And sometimes it's not talent, and sometimes it's not strategy. It's basically mindset, meaning that they allow failure to become the reality and not a learning experience. The people who succeed understands that failure is only feedback for me to kind of make some minor changes in my behavior so I can continue to move forward. The people who stop on the first time they hit the wall, they're like, oh, this is not for me, or I shouldn't be doing this, or somebody said that I was going to fail. And so then we start believing, I think Jim Rohn used to say, we start to believe our doubts and doubt our beliefs. We get to the point is that I don't know what to do. And so we just quit. And that's, to me, a lot of times that happens, is that not understanding that it is a learning curve, that I'm going to have some failures, but the failures are only setbacks that I can move forward to the next level.
Absolutely agree, Curtis. Stepping stones, something better. Just
Absolutely.
giving you a guide, really, isn't it? That way is not quite right. Just try this way, rather than that way is not quite right. Stop.
Yes. You think about an airplane, it's been told is that if they take an off from one destination to the next, they're at any time they are off course, meaning it's not a straight shot because they have wind factors, they have rain, they have storms, and the atmosphere changes the direction of the plane. But you notice usually most of the time they make it to their destination, even though they had to course correct along the way. Sometimes the captain get on the loudspeaker and says, we're going to have to go a little bit higher because of the fact that we're going into a storm. He doesn't say, you know what, I'm halfway through it now, and this storm, we got to go home. I'm going to quit. I'm just going to stop the plane in here in the middle of the air. That doesn't normally happen. We hope it doesn't happen that way, for sure.
Not a good outcome. But let's get to know a little bit more about Curtis the person. Curtis,
Okay.
is it coffee, tea, or something else?
It's always coffee.
Always
Yes.
coffee.
Yeah, I'm a coffee guy. I have a coffee bar in my house. I have a coffee bar in my office. I'm a coffee guy. So tea, if I'm sick and I need some tea, maybe, but coffee, I love coffee. It was funny. Me and my wife went on vacation 3 years ago to Italy, and we had a guide, and she was taking me around, and she asked me, did I like coffee? I said, I love coffee. She says, I'm going to take you to this coffee place, and it's going to change your life. I'm like, wow, that's a big ask there. You're going to change my life. I did. I drank some espresso from that coffee shop. For the last 3 years, I've been shipping beans over from that coffee shop to my house every 2 or 3 months. So I guess she was right. She changed my life.
Indeed. Oh, dear. Are you an early bird or a night owl, or can you do a little bit of both?
I can do a little bit of both, but my preferred is morning. I love mornings. I can get up early. I can stay up late if I have to, but I prefer early, man. Get me up early. I'm ready to go really early, but around here in the United States, around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to go down now. But I can get up early, but not stay up late. But I could do both if I have to.
Very good. What book are you currently reading, and why can't you put it down?
The book I'm currently reading, it was funny about this book. It's a book called The Ultimate Secret to Get Absolutely Everything You Want by Mike, I think his name is Hernacki. I picked it up Friday, I think, in my library. I can't remember, but just some reason, something pulled me to this book. And over the weekend, I read the whole book. As you can see, I got little tabs all over the book. I've gotten notes about the book. I've been teaching other people, my friends and stuff. I talked to them and I called them about the book. So this book is just really what I needed right here, right now. Is you get in life, you want to take the next step, but you really don't know. But if you sometimes just listen to your higher being, it gives you what you need. And I just picked this book up and it's giving me exactly what I need right now. So yes, The Ultimate Secret to Getting What You Want. It's an old book. I think it was written in the 80s or 90s, but it's great.
80s or 90s, being old. Crikey, I read books from the 16th and
I do too. It's according to who the audience is, what they consider as being old.
yes, that's not fair, but I was in the middle of a career in the 80s and 90s. In fact, I changed careers in the 80s and 90s.
There you go. So, hey, so old is relative, did right?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I probably should correct that. I didn't change careers. I've always done the same thing. It's just that I changed places in doing it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit of your journey, Curtis. How did you, 'cause most of the people who are listening to our podcast looking for ideas of how they can go about doing things. And of course, given that we're talking about mindset, a lot of people think, I can't do that because I was this, or I can't do that because I was that. And there's all these hurdles that we have to overcome in our mind. What was your journey when you were a lad, for example? What were you doing, and then how did that transform itself into what you became and then what you are now?
That's interesting. My journey started like 40 years ago. I wanted to be a motivational speaker or sales trainer. That's what they used to call them. And they used to call them coaches back then, but it was a motivational speaker or sales trainer. And so I went into sales and financial services sales, and I learned everything about sales. I practiced hypnosis while in sales, and I also practiced neurolinguistic programming through Tony Robbins programs back in. That's when he first started. I walked across the hot codes and all this kind of stuff to be the best I possibly could be. And I was, and I became successful by doing that. I was number one in my company in less than a year and a half or 2 years. But then something happened, Clive, like most of us happen to most individuals. I hit a brick wall. I hit a blind spot. I used to, like I talked about before, I started to believe my doubts and doubt my beliefs. And it just took me into a whirlwind where I sabotaged. But I noticed that behavior every time I would hit a plateau, the behavior is something would happen still. I think a lot of times in business, we don't know that program is running. And for me, that was running throughout my life. Just that I was doing $1 million in sales and financial services. And my wife came to me and says, wow, Curtis, because I had systems and processes that I can do it easily and effortlessly. And she came to me and says, Curtis, wow, what you're doing is so easy. And I looked at her, I said, it's not easy. It's hard and it's difficult. And not knowing, once again, a blind spot, all of my life. And then this is the crazy thing about it. And I want people to understand that even though I coach this stuff and I practice this stuff, I'm still human. I have to put my pants on the same way you do. And I want to grow my business like you want to grow your business. And one of the things that was still running for me was success is hard and difficult. That belief was still running. And the audience may know or not know, I'm a clinical certified hypnotherapist, and I'm also certified in mental and emotional release and neurolinguistic programming. But I don't operate on myself. I call one of my buddies and says, hey, let's do a session together to see what is this. And what we found was there is a belief that I accepted and decided when I was around 2 that success is hard and difficult. And we got rid of that like less than 10 minutes. But the crazy thing about it is that I was curious about that. So I called my mom up. I says, Mom, what was happening in my life when I was around 2? And this is exactly what she said. She said, oh, around 2, your sister was being born, and I didn't want both of you guys in diapers at the same time. And so I started to potty train you around 18 months. And she said it was hard and difficult for you to be potty trained. So I must have picked up that energy, that knowledge of something being hard and difficult. So even though I've been extremely successful in what I do, and a lot of listeners have probably even been successful, but there's still something that might be running in the background that we don't realize is running. And that's for me as a coach. That's what I do. I help individuals find what that is. But yeah, I'm just like everybody else. I hit the blind spots, and the one was still running. I'm 61 years old now. That means since 2 years old, even though I've had massive success and then massive failures, now it makes more sense to me.
Blind spots occur to all of us at various times. Are there blind spots which appear frequently within people? No, I don't mean an individual has it over and over again, because we know they do
Right.
until they get rid of it. But
Yes.
is there a common blind spot with the people you work with? It just keeps popping up.
I think the one blind spot that most experience is I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm not worthy. Those are the most common in some way, form, or fashion. That's kind of what I hear most of the time. When we get down, what I try to do, Clive, is that when a client comes to me, they come with a lot of issues, right? This issue, oh, I can't make a sale, or I don't have something's happening in my relationship, and these issues, right? But that's not the problem. Those are just issues. So what is driving that behavior that you don't have a good relationship? What is driving that behavior that you don't have peace in your life or calm? What is driving that behavior that you don't have the confidence that you want to have? Usually, when we dig deep into it, we find out usually they have a feeling or a thought, they accepted or decided that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not something. Or sometimes the buzzword now is that imposter syndrome, meaning I'm successful, but inside I don't feel like I'm worthy of being successful. That's still, I'm not worthy. So that's one of the biggest things I see come up over and over again. That feeling of not worthy, not capable, not lovable, one of those things.
And all it takes is a few minutes. If we look into it the right way, we can fix it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of what we do. I think we were talking a little bit about it, is that we joking a little bit. And we were saying not all learning, not all wisdom is in my school. But it's like what I do for my clients, you might do something a little bit different, but we get the same result. What I do, I use mental and emotional release to figure out what is driving that behavior. We go in and get a learning from it. Because what I've learned is that the subconscious mind loves learnings. It loves to know why, what's driving that behavior. And once it knows, it's like you acknowledge it and it feels, that's what it is. It's like, for me, it's like success is not hard and difficult. I'm strong. I'm persistent. I'm courageous. That's what should have been. I was learning during that process that I am strong. I am courageous, that I can do this. And so once I got that learning, the energy around and the behavior around being successful is hard and difficult immediately went away. It was like I'm a different person because of the fact that now I can show up differently. How long did it take? Just as long as it took for me to accept it, right? That's what people don't understand. Change happens as fast as you said. Sometimes people say, it took me years to get over it. No, it didn't take you years. It took you seconds. When you made your mind up and decided and you changed your behavior, it didn't happen over time. It happened instantly. So yeah, this change that we're looking for can happen quickly, fast, and it doesn't take years. I'm not a talk therapist. I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. My job is results, and we're looking for results. So we're not going to talk about it for years and years. We're going to get rid of it so that now we can start to recondition a new behavior.
Which goes back to what we were chatting about earlier. Failure turns up and some people go, oh, golly, I'm a failure. This is it. I'm done.
Yes.
Whereas if we were to look at that difficult situation, identify what it is, find that it's just a mental block, we can change the movie that keeps running for us, and all of a sudden we're away.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love that analogy. It's basically what we're doing is reframing it. It's like when we interrupting that old pattern. Think about what happens is that when something triggers, you got to go through the pattern. In the book of, I think, The Power of Habits, talked about the trigger and the response, and it goes to this whole pattern before it stops. So what we do, we help them interrupt that pattern so they can not see it for what it truly is. Now we create new behavior when the trigger actually comes up again.
There you go. Now, you've had quite a journey here because you had quite a few years in the financial services industry in sales and coaching within that industry, and now you set yourself up some time ago as straight out coach for anybody and everybody who recognises I've got a block, I need to get rid of it. Along your journey, did you run into any particular mentors who really struck a chord with you and helped you out? Something in particular that helped you?
Probably, if I think back, for me, my biggest mentors for me is when I first got into sales. And for my first mentor, his name was Bob. When I used to go out and make sales, he used to come in and we would debrief on everything that I did. So, I did this, I made the sale or not made the sale. And so he helped me create that behavior, create new habits based on good, solid sales strategies. If there's one person in the mental field, probably with the greatest impact, it would probably either be, I used to love to follow Tony Robbins back in the day, on Jim Rohn, which Tony was the first person Tony actually worked for and worked with was Jim Rohn. If you remember the philosopher Jim Rohn, that's probably one of my greatest mentors because he made things so simple. He was like, all this other stuff that people are doing, rubbing crystals and doing this other, that's not, just do it. So for me, I still quote a lot of his stuff. So those are some people who really helped me on this journey.
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of time for Jim Rohn. He says a lot in very few words.
Yes. Very impactful. Very impactful.
Indeed. So your office is just outside your home, walking distance. Nice and easy and not too far. Let's face it, in 80 degrees in Southern California, you don't want to walk too far because you don't want to sweat. To give that a little bit more context, people, where I am, it's 8 degrees. So
Right.
we've been having a little bit of a chat about that. How do you balance your personal life with your business life, given that your business is 20 steps or so away from your personal life?
I do have separation. I'm married. I've been married now for 34 years. And what I do is two things. Is like we talked a little bit about the blind spot of success is hard and difficult. It was hard for me starting this business to be all in because I had a fear that success is hard and difficult. So I would limit the amount of energy that I was putting into the business because of that fear, of that blind spot. Still, with that being said, what I do is me and my wife had an agreement that around 8 o'clock my time, I stop wherever I am or whatever I'm doing, unless something extremely important. I stop, and that's when we sit on the couch, we watch a movie together, we do something together from 8 o'clock. So my balance is, hey, I've worked hard, I've done my job. Now it's time for me to switch to husband because now I want to make sure that my relationship stays solid and prosperous and vibrant. So now I need to just stop. So the work life balance. And then every day, 3 days a week, I wake up early. I have a coach for my physical body. So I do workouts 3 days a week. I was walking in maybe 5 to 10,000 steps a day. So my balance is still making sure that physically, mentally, and emotionally I have balance. And in my relationship, I have a balance. So I'm kind of regiment my life where I'm very time oriented, waking up early, doing some meditation, doing my journaling. 3 days a week, I'm working out and starting my day. And then 8 o'clock, whatever's happened has happened. Then I'm now spending time with my wife. Since I am so close to my house, really it's linked to my house, but I got to go outside to come into my office. So around 10 o'clock every day, me and my wife, we go in and we have a cup of coffee together. So I make her a latte and we share a cup of coffee together. So that's how I keep that balance.
Very good. So essentially, you're just really clear about how your life runs.
Very clear, very clear. Because I think that's one of the challenges that most entrepreneurs struggle with is not being clear on what they want and not understand what they truly value. One of the sessions that I run is called Core Values Discovery and Alignment, where if our values are out of line, then even though we want to consciously on a subconscious level, if our values are out of line, we're not going to perform that task very long. So I have to have consciously understand why I do what I do. Why is it important for me to work out? I want to be healthy. I want to have longevity. I want to have energy. I want to show up for my clients a certain way. And then why do I want to have a really strong relationship? What is it that drives my relationship? Why I want to keep my wife happy. I want to make sure that we have a great relationship. And we're going to be in this thing for a lifetime. Let's enjoy it and not just be there. And yes, I think knowing and being clear on what we want and then actively doing it. Is it easy, guys? I want you to understand. Is it easy? No, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. If you're married to one person for 34 years, trust me, it's not that easy, but it's worth it. But it's not easy. It's like it's work. It's something that you have to work at. So I think that's what people sometimes they're like, oh, Curtis got it all together. No, my wife gets on me just like your wife get on you.
Yes, because as I like to say to people sometimes, that the walls aren't put around things to stop you from having them. They're only there to see if you're serious.
I like that.
Curtis, what advice would you give to someone starting out in your domain or anything, well, any industry really, any business? What advice would you give to them to give them a bit of a kickstart?
I think one of the biggest things they need to be truly clear on what they want. And they need to have enough whys to do it. What I mean by that is if you're going to start a new company in coaching, right? You use coaching as an example. Why are you doing it? And you better have a big list of whys because when you hit the brick wall, when you hit that first objection, when you hit that first setback, if you don't have enough reasons why you get up in the morning and why you do what you do, that's when you're going to quit. And a lot of times people says, oh, I want to do this to make money. Money might not come as fast as you think it comes. So, are you prepared for that mentally? What other reasons why you want to do what you're doing? So, you better have a lot of reasons why. I think knowing, being totally clear on what you want, and then having enough reasons why, and then also just following your intuition. A lot of times we don't listen to our higher self when it tells us to pick up the phone and make that call, or to write that email, or to do the little things that we need to do. Be willing to do the small things in order to get the big results.
That's fantastic, Curtis. Thanks for joining us. But before you go, where can our listeners find you?
They can find me on my website. They can go to www.curtismccallum.com or bespokehumanpotentialcoaching.com if they want to put the long word in there. But either one, on my website, they can do a free 15-minute clarity call with me. Also a 30-minute call if they want to do some type of transformation work or some type of sales work. So they can reach me there, and we can definitely just get together and have a virtual cup of coffee just to get to know each other.
That's excellent. Thanks, Curtis. There's great advice for someone to take advantage of in everything that you've had to say today. To our listeners, thanks for joining us, and be sure to join us for the next episode. And of course, check out the back catalogue because each one has gems of wisdom in it. Thanks, Curtis, for being part of it.
Thank you, Clive, for having me today. It's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. We encourage you to connect with us on social media and join our community of business owners at businessbusinessbusiness.com.au.